Prepare yourself for a sprawling discussion on just about anything, where critical thinking meets pop culture in a collision of mind-bending proportions. Please secure all neurons and prepare for full frontal cortex. It's time for Incoherent Ramblings. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Incoherent Ramblings podcast. We are at Rambling 006, and today it's the Singularity. And boy, do we have a show for you, because there's all sorts of stuff happening today. Let's do some quick introductions. I'm Joey Schammel, like I just said. We actually have 5 people today. Let's go. Who else we got here? Somebody else go.
Daryl Jors.
And Cale Anderson.
Paul Hottinger.
And you might hear a little bit ecstatic in the background because in honor of the
Wait, he's ecstatic?
Okay, no. Yeah, in honor of the Singularity, we're actually using some new technology called, what is it?
It's called John VOIP.
John VOIP. Oh, VOIP, that's it. No, VOIP. And we have our foreign correspondent, Robert Booger Magallanes, who is telepresence.
AKA Captain Punch.
Yeah.
Who is howdy, everybody. Enjoy my potato while we're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yum.
What?
As long as it's not mashed.
So he's coming to us live from, where are you? Where are you?
I am in beautiful downtown Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Woohoo! North Carolina. So he's on the other, what do you call that? Other coast.
East Coast.
Yes, the East Coast.
Yes,
You almost said continent.
West Side!
No, I didn't.
He's from a totally different continent. You know?
I didn't say that. I'm supposed to say that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the Singularity, and I think we should just jump right into this because it's...
The book sure doesn't. Oh, slam! Sorry.
Let's discuss what the.
My apologies, Ray. It's an awesome book. All right, just saying.
Just
for those of you out there who don't know what the Singularity is, let me give you. Well, I'll start, and then you guys can put in whatever you want to say about it. Cale read the whole book, which was huge. I think it was an audiobook, 24 hours of listening.
24 hours.
I read about up to chapter 7. Daryl read up to about, 5? 4,
the middle of it, which is chapter 5,
and fell asleep a lot because it gets a little slow.
Right.
Paul read the prologue and kind of chapter 1, and Booger read the prologue. So
I
we're
was
all
in the
different
middle
places.
of GNR, and let me just start out by asking Paul, what's your opinion of GNR?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues there that I think Axl really messed up with the band and stuff.
Oh! I've been
And,
trying to figure out what you guys meant by Guns N' Roses this whole week. I'm like, what jokes are you doing with Guns N' Roses?
Because it's all about Slash, and he has a new band out, and it's always nice to hear some new music. But
as long as you got the rest of the
Slash
band,
always has a new band out. The guy hasn't stopped making new bands since he broke up.
I know. All I need is just him and his guitar and
Snake Pit.
And
Okay, so anyway, the Singularity.
Well, maybe we should just say what GNR really is.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a good context.
Oh, genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics.
Yes,
thank you, sir.
Good. Oh,
all right, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and that too.
The Singularity is a point in the near future,
technological singularity.
Technological singularity, where, as Ray Kurzweil, who's the author of this book, puts it, we will start to transfer from becoming completely biological to non-biological creatures. And Cale, why don't you give us because you're really thank you, because you're really into this. You've read the book. You've been into this a long time. Give us kind of an overview of the technological singularity.
Well, the main thing is that it's a point, and he does. I think it's 2029, and that is the year he says that our computers will actually surpass our human ability to
2042.
2042?
I remember the 42. 2029 was artificial reality. Or no, artificial intelligence was going to...
Oh, that's right. You're right. Artificial intelligence.
2042 is the Singularity.
Right. Where our computers will be more capable than we are.
And then they start designing themselves.
And they will start designing themselves.
It's like another step in evolution where, as he put in the book, it's kind of like there was bacteria, and bacteria became us. And then we're going to become this next step in evolution, which is non-biological.
But still human.
Yes, as he puts it. And there's a lot to think about. So if you want to read this book, feel free, but let me warn you...
the Singularity is near.
Yes, the Singularity is near. Yeah, what's the name? Okay, the Singularity is near. Anybody know the subtitle? Something about non-biological, something or other. Anyway, so if you want to read the book, I recommend chapter 1, chapter prologue chapter 1, and then move over to 6 and 7, and then maybe the prologue or not the prologue.
The epilogue.
Yeah. Epilogue right now. I knew that.
Solid Bowl.
Read the logs.
I was wondering if someone was going to bring up Salad Bowl. I didn't expect it this quick into it, though.
Yeah, well, apologies to anyone who's listening who doesn't know us already.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, Salad Bowl?
Yeah, now you have to explain it.
We'll explain to somebody this.
Apologies to Kale.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
I say we keep Salad Bowl as an internal little inside joke for the outside listeners, but we can explain to Kale after we're done.
Got it.
Yes,
I like
That's
that.
good. That's good.
Maybe. So, the Singularity, I have to say from my point of view, I kind of knew a little bit about this, but I was completely unaware of how awesome this was going to be and how soon it was going to take place, providing it is. Of course, Ray Kurzweil is well known for predicting the future using a lot of, what?
The law of accelerating
Exponential
returns.
Accelerator and exponential growth, yeah.
Right.
And he's been very, very accurate in a lot of things. And he basically says that the whole world is going to change dramatically by
Well, say
the
he's
2040s.
been accurate for a futurist.
Okay.
He's been very accurate for a
futurists have a
futurist.
very difficult job, not to put it lightly, but
No.
the guy isn't 100% on
No,
all
he's
the time. So
and he's very strict on himself, and he says he's only at 80%.
yeah.
80, 85. But actually, a couple of things that he actually has predicted, but because it's not like out to the full public, he counts it that it didn't happen when he said. So actually, he's around 90%. Really.
I think it's pretty wise that he has his own cutoff point, the singularity. He's saying no one, including the futurists, understand what will happen after
after it. Yeah, because it's going to be so huge.
Because it's
we
predicting
don't know what's going to
chaos.
happen.
Anytime you're predicting the future, you're trying to find the trends and the chaos of the world out there.
Definitely.
And find out what trends are going to take hold and propel into the future and become something real. And as a futurist, he's done a fine job of that. But he did some things like, didn't he say the book was written in 2005, and by 2009 we were going to have, what was it we were going to have?
We were going to have like the phones in our clothes. The main thing he said,
Right.
computers will be
Woven.
gone and not part of. We won't see them anywhere anymore.
Right,
They're
they're
going
going
to
be part of our
become
environment.
part of our environment.
They like in our and like
Kind of like the Nike.
right,
the
but
Nike
everywhere
shoes
and like
with the computer.
Right.
he said
that's
that,
like the start of it.
Yeah.
he said that like we wouldn't even be cleaning our houses anymore, so we have robots doing it or
Yeah.
something like that, or have computers doing it.
And
So
I
he's
think-
been off on a couple. I wanted to talk
I think
about
that
that too.
speaks to one of my opinions about Ray Kurzweil is that he's very optimistic in his projections.
Oh, definitely.
I don't doubt that what he's talking about is coming, but it's coming later than he expects it to.
Yeah, I kind of think he wants to be around for it. So I
Right,
think
right.
he's because he's what is he 56, 57, something.
And it
like
would be
that.
just our luck for like the last generation that dies
I
off
know!
before immortality
Just
is
that would
is realized.
suck.
Yeah.
Dad would have loved this.
Because that's part that's
Exactly.
part of the singularity is that because we're going to be integrated into technology and computers, we are basically going to be able to live more or less forever, or at least the pattern of our consciousness will. So it's kind of a really cool idea.
Well, I don't know if we're going to be the ones that are living forever because we're going to be the guinea pigs in the whole beginning of the process.
It's like I made this joke starting about 20 years ago where I said, my genetics, I'm going to live probably to be in my 90s or 100. And by then, they'll have invented a way for me to live 20 more years to 120. And by then, they'll have cured aging and I'll just live forever.
You listened to your Jiminy Cricket, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I'll live to be 123.
Never heard that before.
wow,
okay.
I remember that. I'm no fool, no siree. I'm going to live to be 103. 103,
Yeah,
I play
well,
sing
whatever.
for you and me because...
I want to be like Bilbo Baggins. I want to reach my 111st birthday.
Well, yeah,
I'd like to hit there.
I think it's very possible. I really liked his ideas that so much was going to happen so quickly, and I really like his optimism. I wish it would happen that way. I kind of like you, Daryl. I'm kind of thinking maybe he's projecting a little bit too close to where we are.
Well, I think he's trying to create a self-fulfilling prophecy by going to Google. That's what I think.
Okay, yeah, talk about that. He's a
Well, that's
Google
one thing.
now, right?
Like, that's
He's
one.
the director of engineering at Google.
That's one thing I would really like to. I'm glad you pointed that out. Is that he's not just someone who predicts the future and sits back and waits for someone else to
he
realize it.
invents it.
He's out on the forefront.
He's the one who
pushing things
invented
along.
the first flatbed scanner.
Yeah. Yeah, and anytime I hear the word Kurzweil, because my first experience with that name has always been synthesizers, because my brother plays keyboards and whatever, and he designed the Kurzweil synthesizer, I believe, for
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He did.
So I'm not wrong about that. I wanted to fact check that before we started, but yeah.
Nope,
Did he do
right.
something else, though, for Stevie?
Yes, the first optical reader where it will read books for him.
Okay. Awesome.
And with a kind
so
of a
he's been in
computer
voice synthesis and voice recognition, which
And,
is something Google is good at. And then they have the biggest database because almost everybody who's using a lot of technology is using some sort of Google tech.
Yeah.
And
I think that he's definitely, Google and he are a great fit, I think, because they want to surpass Siri and actually get the first software agent. Because Siri is sort of one, but not really.
Well, they also want to have cars that drive themselves. And
well, we already have those.
Too.
Well,
right.
Siri just like talks to you, responds to you, and then just does your command.
Right.
It's like that. It's like that Eliza program,
like C-3PO, which would be like seeking out, predicting what you want. You know.
Do you guys
Is
remember
that what you want? I want that.
I want that. Yeah.
Do you remember that AI program called Eliza? I had a copy of it on the Amiga way back when, but it was based on a very early kind of text parsing algorithm, and it was used to be run on mainframes and stuff like that, but it's been ported to other more modern systems. And it's almost like an AI that kind of analyzes you. It's almost like it gives you a psychological evaluation. And it's generally... It's a lot of just kind of simple trickery, but it takes a lot of what you type into the parser and serves it back to you.
That sounds familiar.
So things like, oh, I really like the idea of the singularity. Then it would come back, because it doesn't have any reference point to know what the singularity is. It would say something like, how do you feel about this singularity? And then you would espouse like your feelings on it and would say, why does it make you feel that way? But it's interesting because it almost feels like you're interacting with some sort of person.
Yeah.
But there's no real intelligence there. It's really just a kind of like a magician's trick of
like a
you pay attention to what's outputting from the thing, but the process of creating that output is actually based more on your input than anything else.
Yeah.
Hey, Clicky.
Is that supposed to be me?
Yeah, that's you,
click.
Clicky.
Yeah.
We hear your mouse.
You're going to give me a lot of work in post, my friend.
What are you talking about? I'm not doing anything.
Sounds dirty.
Oh, well.
So, moving on a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about. Are you guys done with that?
Yeah.
Where you going? Okay.
Heck yes.
I want to talk about exponential growth, because the thing he says is the reason that everybody predicts the future so poorly is because they are not looking at exponential growth. They are looking at a very linear view. So here's my example. Some of you have probably heard this before. So I ask all of you the question: if I said, for the next 30 days, I'm going to give you $1,000 a day, or I'll give you a penny today, and then I'll double it, give you 2 pennies tomorrow, and then I'll give you 4 pennies the next day, and then 8 pennies, and keep doubling it until the end of the 30 days. Which would you choose?
The penny.
The penny.
Yeah, number 2. Because actually, if you get $1,000...
Because I love pennies.
Yep. Pennies from heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I saying? Oh, because if you get $1,000 a day, it's $30,000, but if you do the penny thing, when you get to the 30th day, it's over $10 million! And that is the power of exponential growth.
Yeah, good example.
Doubling and doubling and doubling. And that's what he
deal
says.
with that stuff in binary computer things all the time, because... Okay, I'm going to get old school with everyone again.
Old school, go!
Let's go for it.
But think back when we had 256-bit graphics, or 256 colors, I mean, not bit. We don't have that. It was 8-bit graphics, okay? So that means that every element on the screen, you would have 8 bits to describe it, right? And that gave you a total color palette of 256 colors. Well, what did it take to... How many times do you think you'd have to multiply that 8 bits to get up to 16.7 million colors? And that's the kind of graphics we tend to use today. You actually only have to use 3 times as many bits to go from 256 options to 16.7 million options.
How many cycles does it take?
Cycles?
You know, from doubling.
Oh, how many doubling cycles? That would be 16 doublings.
Wow. So not that much. You would think it would be a lot more.
Right, right. So the thing is, okay, you can describe 3 pixels with a total palette of 256 colors, or 1 pixel with a palette of 16.7 million colors with the same amount of data. So it's kind of interesting to look at it like that. So, this progression of like you have 8 bits, you add a 9th bit, you now have 512 options, right? You add another bit to that, 10 bits, you now have 1,024 options, etc., and so on. So it grows very, very fast from every time you add an extra bit to a data set, it just gives you so many more options. I'm sorry I brought this down.
All I could think of was like Nintendo and TurboGrafx.
Exactly.
I just kept seeing the little pixel blinking.
8-bit, 16-bit,
32-bit,
all that stuff.
But based on...
But that's the exponential growth. That's the hockey stick.
Right.
The graph.
Right, yes,
looks
thank
like
you.
a hockey stick going up.
It starts off slow, and then it gets to the curve, and then it shoots up. And the idea is that because a lot of people look at the future in a linear way, they kind of look at how things have advanced and they project it in the future. What Kurzweil is saying for the Singularity is that things are going to double, so that double, apple style on the tomatoes. Sorry. They're going to keep going until finally we hit this curve up. So like in 2029, he says we're going to have artificial intelligence that can pass the Turing test, which means basically you won't be able to tell, is it a human or is it artificial intelligence? They'll be the same in every way.
I think he illustrates it really nicely in saying that over the next 100 years, we're going to see, because of this doubling of innovation over and over again, we're going to see an equivalent of progression in the next 100 years that humanity reached in the past 20,000 years.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the aspects of acceleration is things happen slowly at first. We invented agriculture and started animal husbandry. That doesn't mean what you think it means, Joey.
Dude, I know. We are open here at Incoherent Ramblings.
But not
we
that
are
open.
But it was thousands of years
all.
before those things.
You damn liberal
really
Californians.
I know, huh? West Coast.
You're a Carolina guy.
Yeah.
Dude, stop with the gang signs. We're gonna get shot.
That's all.
Yeah. Snoop Lion.
I know. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get shot by some Trekkie that thinks I don't know how to do Vulcan.
Yes, that is the wrong way there, Sharon.
Yeah.
I set phasers too.
That's right.
That's 4.
Here, give me the sign.
Oh no! Don't put it on the website.
What? Why not?
Because I'm going to get fired from my jobs, that's why.
What?
Anyway, what jobs? I don't know. Yeah.
What? It's not like it's a real gang sign. Anyway, but the Singularity is... all right.
Well, yeah, like technology has grown, like you're saying, with agriculture. It's grown very slowly. If you think back in like the Civil War times versus now, it's the total opposite. Even with computers, if you look at like 1980, in the 80s and stuff with our Macintosh, Commodore 64,
with our TRS-80s.
TRS-80, yeah. And now we got the iPad, which blows everything away.
Right.
Yeah.
At least from
and it's
then.
smaller, it's lighter.
But it's
I don't know. It sounds to me like you guys might be putting a little too much weight into some of the technology we have. I mean, like the iPod blows everything away. I don't know about that. Things like the iPod were actually imagined and realized, a dang good 50 years ago. It doesn't really seem like it was all that groundbreaking.
Yeah, but now it's a technology that can actually develop that. So you can take the idea that was 50 years ago and actually...
And I have to admit, I like the Galaxy better than the...
True.
Well, I don't mean the iPad blows everything away. I mean, it blows away if you look at the specs of an iPad versus a Commodore 64...
No, I think...
you
don't necessarily mean the iPad. You mean the technology
now
of the touchscreen.
Okay, let me refer back to...
I don't own an iPad and I don't want to buy one.
Kind of technology.
Well, here's another illustration I thought Kurzweil did really well in the documentary Transcendent Man. I don't know if he gets to this in the book because I didn't hear the whole thing, but he was saying that when he was in college, 30 years before he gave this interview that I'm talking about, he was using a mainframe computer that you had to pay like $1,000 an hour for time on.
He finally gets to it in the book.
And he does. I know he mentions that part of it, but I don't think he goes to the other part that I'm going to mention. He basically says that now, when he gave this lectures to a bunch of college students, he said now the phone in your pocket is like 1,000,000 to 1 improvement over that old computer because of size and weight, processing power, and portability. He said this thing is 1,000 times smaller, 1,000 times lighter, etc. You figure it out. This is like 1,000,000 times more capable device than that old mainframe. And he said, well, take this another 30 years into the future, but if progress is accelerating, it wouldn't even take that long. But if you have another 1,000,000-fold improvement on our cell phones, we're starting to talk about nanotechnology, little robots that have the same processing power as our cell phones.
Right.
And you'll get the power of, say, like an iPad or a tablet or something in your bloodstream, something the size of your blood cells, going around fixing things up inside of you.
Yeah, definitely. I read Unbounding the Future by Eric K. Drexler. Awesome book, and it talks all about where that nanotechnology is going, and it's fantastic. Yeah,
He's in my notes. That's
good,
pretty funny.
good. Yeah,
When you said it, I thought, what?
because I read that. What? God, I read that like back in 1989 or something.
Yeah.
When it came out, I actually read the book, and I was blown away because I could see the potential of nanotechnology,
Yeah.
and it just sounded outrageous, but I could see he was right.
Well, that's the
Totally
thing. A
right.
lot of this stuff does sound outrageous. And he mentioned, Kurzweil mentions Moore's Law over and over and over again. And there's going to be an eventual end to this, which is one of the things I wanted to raise, is that, okay, we have this technological acceleration of returns and everything. Eventually that bottoms out because you're eventually working on an atomic level and you're going to reach maximum efficiency. Eventually you can't make the density of transistors twice as dense because there's just nowhere to go after that. But that's a long way off. Things are going to be really
that's the point.
advanced
It's
at that
so
point.
far away from where we're at now.
Right.
The computing power is just going to be staggering.
And it's going to be 3-dimensional instead of 2-dimensional
Right.
chip wafers.
Well, they've just started to do that. The
Yeah.
3-dimensional.
I don't know if they've
processor.
just started, but they've made a breakthrough recently that made it actually worthwhile.
I don't mean they've started manufacturing them. I'm saying
Right.
they actually did it.
Right. Well, it's been done for a while, actually, but one of the weird problems with 3-dimensional computing is that it actually doesn't have benefits until they figured out how to make the electrical gates between the different layers. Like, you can basically send your circuitry in 2 dimensions, and you can reach really high speeds that way. But as soon as you start moving electrons through a 3rd dimension, you have a slowing down of gating the circuitry that direction. And actually, in the lab, 3D circuits have existed for a long time, but they've never been better than 2-dimensional circuits because the 2-dimensional circuits have a speed advantage due to their layout.
Well,
But recently, they sped up the gates, so now it's kind of
yeah.
ready to leave the lab and become useful at this point. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And when you were talking about that, it reminded me one of the things that people have problems separating why they can't imagine why Ray is going to be pretty right on with this stuff is because they look at this short term and they say, well, we can't reach all the way there with just the short term. But as things double and we get closer and we start to accelerate, we will reach that 2029 date. I really believe we'll hit there. But it won't seem like we're reaching it until like 2025 or 6. And then it will go.
That's what it will
take off.
It emerges bright on the horizon, and there we have the next epic.
And
Hey,
what-
See,
Let's talk about epics.
I have to wonder about that myself, and I don't know if this may be a little off topic. If so, maybe we can make it another discussion. But I can't help but think that a lot of this topic is assuming that we, as not just a society and a country, but even as a world, will accept all of this open-armed. I mean, I can just think right now, just take stem cell research. It's groundbreaking, it's this and that, but so many people with certain other, I don't know if you want to call them faith, you want to call it superstition, whatever, will just put a huge roadblock with whatever options they have ahead of them. And I think it might end up preventing a lot of this from happening, if and not just delaying it. Does that make any sense?
Excellent, Booger.
Yeah.
That is so good. That is such a better transition than the crappy one I tried to do. Man, that was awesome.
Well, I want
Let me throw-
to add that too.
Okay.
I agree with you, Booger, because I was thinking too. What if all the third world countries that technology is just not in their lifestyle, And is it going to be robotic people forcing them to change, or or what? How would that progression go?
Well, it's going to
have.
have.
It's just Cyberdyne taking
there
over.
will be Luddites.
Well, that's the thing. Is just like exactly.
But
Luddites.
then again, I think that if society is going in some direction that's going to be super high tech, the Luddites are probably going to. There's going to be something like the holdouts that don't want the technology, or they want to maintain their individuality in some way. There's going to have to be something done with them, and it's going to be a big ethical issue about, do we force them to, do we assimilate them like we're the Borg or something? Do we let them live their life and let them use their resources inefficiently, but yet give them a whole planet to live on and say, okay, you just stay on that planet and be happy, live in your low-tech lives, and we go somewhere else?
I think there'll be compromises all along.
But it's kind of like the idea of a reservation. If there's a culture that doesn't want to keep up with your technology, you kind of say, all right, here's a parcel of land.
Yeah, then we take it back.
And kind of. I think that's the thing. That's always the thing too, because once this super high tech culture gets big enough, are they going to want to say, well, now there are resources over here being wasted? Are we going to come back to this issue of, do we take it back from them?
Yeah. I think too. Well, go ahead, Joey.
I think Kurzweil said it best. He said, "Well, you might have this argument, between the people who are just biological and those who have become technologically enhanced, but the ones who've become enhanced are going to live a long time, and the biological ones won't be around to be part of the argument."
But then again, the argument is going to be difficult to make because
the Amish will still be here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it would be similar to that because they're living an old world life, and they take so much land
and
per
their
capita.
Children will have children, so they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
But I think it will shrink. There'll be less.
And we also have that thing too. This isn't just going to happen overnight. It's not like someone's just going to invent it, and then we're all just going to be cybermen everywhere and stuff.
Right, cyborgs.
But it's going to be a transition. What?
Speaking of cyber.
Oh my God, we almost forgot.
Oh yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
I didn't know that was the plan.
Yep.
Okay, now we got to insert the Ozzy Osbourne, the Sabbath.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yes, Iron Man. Kale's Iron Man toy today because we're doing the Singularity. It fits in quite nicely.
Oh, the Singularity. Oh, the Singularity.
Put a sock on it.
Because
that made me laugh.
Going back, even now, there's a research going with amputees that are using robotics for arms and legs, where their mind is controlling. It's becoming part of them.
That Skywalker fellow.
Yeah, Luke. Right.
Yeah.
It even hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has like turbo finger on it. And so that's just like
you might want to practice on a hot dog first.
A small step towards it, but it's going to be like these little small steps, and then one day it's just going to be like a part of life.
Yeah, and I also think that if you think about it, like the people who are still kind of holdouts, I don't think they're going to be much of a problem after a while, because it's like, bacteria is still around today,
Oh my gosh. You just equated people that want to remain human as bacteria. That's pretty hilarious.
I know. I was thinking the same damn thing. Way to go there, Joey.
Oh, I thought you wanted to kill them with bacteria.
No, it's just that we're the next step.
Well, you breathe and 100 million bacteria die. Who cares?
Yeah. That's right.
You gotta breathe.
But that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be so the technological. Well, okay.
Well, it's gonna be like having. If things advance the way projected, it would be like having empathy for ants.
Yes,
or bacteria.
Thank you.
The sad part
is that's a weird problem to think about. In fact, it makes me think: should we even go this route? What's the end game going to be for all of this?
Well, I think it's
Paul.
It's going to happen because we can do it, and unfortunately, that's the way things mostly go. If we can do it, we end up doing it if it's a positive thing.
I have this one.
Well, not even if it's always a positive, we still do it anyway sometimes.
That's true, too.
It depends. If it can make money, it will be done.
It's quote time.
Yeah, definitely.
Quote time right here.
Or make a weapon.
Quiet, girls got a quote.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
I was thinking that exact same quote. I was just getting ready to find a way to etch that in.
I was like, who bitch slapped Booger?
Booger's down. Booger's
He did it to himself. So, yeah, that's Ian Malcolm
Front hand,
from
backhand.
a fictional character from Jurassic Park. But I think
faster,
that's
must go
going to be
faster.
more and more relevant, and I'm glad that we have this discussion right now, because I think that as things progress and we get closer to a potential singularity, we have to really stop and ask, what are we giving up by going here? Right. Are we going to give up individuality and humanity for the sake of having super intelligence and great powers?
I don't think so, but I think we definitely need to make the discussion of
Absolutely, yeah. And it's an important discussion that I don't think a lot of people take seriously, because, as we've said, the accelerating growth of technology, it's like it's looming over us, but we don't really realize it yet.
That's like Eric K. Drexler formed the Foresight Institute, and that's about nanotechnology. And the whole point of it is to ask those questions about nanotechnology, whether we should do this or that about it, and to help guide it in a positive direction.
Right.
So
I don't remember.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on what is determined as positive. I know this is going to be definitely for a different type of podcast, but we have to start going into philosophies. What's good? What's bad? How do we decide it?
Well,
and that's going to be a painful discussion right there.
Well,
I'm right, you're
philosophy
wrong,
is part of this podcast.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't have necessarily insights on that, just about the fact that I think we're going to have, either whether you want to call it as a global society or just his little group there, they're going to have to determine, how do we determine what is good and what is bad? Do we use morals based on, say, Judeo-Christian? Do we use morals based on a more secular? Do we use morals based on what? That way we always have a foundation to go back on, because certainly certain details are going to come up in the future saying, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad. Well, let's go back to our foundation. Does that make sense?
This is kind of a cold answer, but my answer to that is that the belief system that wins out because it can actually make real predictions that come true is going to be the secular perspective, because it's what you can test and you find out, and it adjusts itself to match what's actually out there.
He actually says there's two bases that we need to come back to. One is secular and one's more theological, but it's a good one. The theological one is that you have respect for others' consciousness. In other words, anybody who's conscious, you don't want to hurt them. You respect them in all ways. The other one, he says, which is more secular, is just the importance of knowledge, which is not information, because information may be chaotic.
Wisdom.
Yeah, of knowledge and wisdom. And so Kurzweil's idea is, if you hold those two as kind of your belief system, then he thinks things will go pretty well.
And I'm glad that you're on the podcast, Booger, because I think you can give us a little bit different perspective on this thing. Because I think those of us sitting here present are probably generally secularists, right?
Definitely.
I'm not 100% sure about Paul's position on
Pretty much,
that. But I understand that you probably have a little bit different take on that, Booger.
You're true. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I do have a bit more of a spiritual-based worldview, but I'll definitely throw that out there. I just don't want to. I also don't want you to think that I'm going to be. This is a bit of extreme, but someone like the Westboro Baptist Church holding up signs saying no robots, no technology, nothing like that. Personally, I embrace it. I just want to make sure that we don't exceed certain limits that I may have differently than the rest of the world, for that matter.
You're just stupid bacteria.
Wow.
They're just worried about gay robots.
I'm in the Army. I've been
That's all
called
they're
much
worried
worse
about.
today alone.
The other thing too is, with everyone, if we're gonna live forever or whatever it's gonna do to us and stuff, we better learn to get off this planet, because it's gonna get crowded.
But who wants to live forever?
Or go underwater.
Well, you brought up.
I do.
So Kale brought up
Sequence.
Drexler earlier, and one of his ideas was the gray goo potentiality
the gray
of self-replicating nanobots. And I have a different take on gray goo, because although that term's a little weird, what it implies is that if you make nanotechnology that can self-replicate, and it's very efficient at taking resources and converting them into replicas of itself, that eventually the world, if left unchecked, could
Gets
just get
drowned.
turned into this gray amorphous ooze that's nothing but nanorobots. Because what it did is it went around and took all the matter and reprocessed it into duplicates of itself. And it's another exponential thing. One moment it's the size of our living room, In a couple days, it's the size of a whole city. Then it's the size of a whole country. Then it's the entire planet after that. And then what if it reaches beyond the planet? It starts eating up entire galaxies after a while. But I have a little bit different take on that because there are supposedly checks that can be put in place that would prevent self-replicating robots from doing that specific thing. But I have a different idea about the end game. What's that?
That's like computer bugs. That's kind of what you're talking about too, and he talks about that in his book, Singularity's Near.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like the people who have been afraid of the internet. Like, I'm not going to do banking on the internet because if we put everything on the internet, then everything's going to crash and we're all going to be in the dark ages. And that could have happened, but because we stopped it from happening, not we as the people in this room, but we as a society.
Well,
even more stable than it
he
was
even
before.
says in the book about how it's there's a rise of software viri, but then there's also a rise of an internet software immune system.
Well, it's growing pains.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the first car...
Show me that smile again.
Sure wasn't as safe as it is now.
Hey, Booger, there's your 80s again.
Came around one more time.
Oh, we're so old.
Okay, we've been
Oh my
talking a
gosh.
lot about how this might be bad. Let's talk about how it might be... Oh, you still got more?
Well, I just wanted
Go.
to talk about the end game before we
Okay.
move on from there. Because this is both good and bad. I just want to know what the end game is, because as we progress further and further, it seems like that our technology is based on making us more intelligent. Okay?
Well, do you want to talk about what it should be or what you think it actually will be?
Well, we could have both, actually. But
Okay.
I want to start first, though, by saying I think that the unfortunate end game of all of this is a loss of identity and individuality, because it sounds like what the ideal is to optimize for intelligence. So let's say that we can make microchips that are perfectly formatted in a 3D lattice that is the most intelligent organization of matter you can create. Well, how do you double that intelligence? By making it twice as big. Then how do you double it again? By making it twice as big again. Well, I think it's kind of like the intelligent version of the gray ooze theory, where, okay, once we have things, at the maximal efficiency and the maximal amount of intelligence you can pack into the smallest amount of space, what's to stop that intelligence from having a hunger to just keep expanding exponentially until the entire universe is this, perfectly optimized mesh of intelligence.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing to solve after that. So is that what the real end
becomes the
game is
universe.
of all
Well,
this?
I think what stops that is that it's never works perfectly. And that's why when people have differences of opinions, it's never always like this person's way or this group's way. It always ends up being a mesh of what we all think.
Yeah.
And so we all move ahead. We all move to better intelligence, but we do it in kind of an off way. We don't do it the most optimized way. But we get there. That's the point.
Well,
That's the end game.
That's
We
what I
get
think is
there.
once we get to being the most optimized, though, the most optimized intelligence is going to be one giant brain. I think.
Yeah, but I don't think that we're going to get there because of that very thing. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because
Because there are going to be holdouts along the way that want to keep their identity. But wouldn't that be
You figure
the ultimate democracy, to have everyone be one brain? Right? That's just democracy at its most perfect. Probably.
Well, look,
I don't know if that's really even. I'm looking at it this way. So far, every technological advancement has always been used or been designed and used as a tool for humanity. So as a large group, we've always ended up kind of de facto using it to progress up. But with Singularity, we're talking about it actually being part of us. It's no longer a tool. And so I don't know if it's going to be we use the same way.
Yeah. When do we become the tools?
I think we've already become the tools.
I've been called a tool.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, and at what point do you lose your humanity when you become the tool?
And I think that's, and I hate to do it, but I gotta get back to bacteria. I mean,
Go for it, Joey.
look.
This is Joey's
I'm not saying humans are bacteria. What I'm saying is the difference between. He said it so much better and wasn't sounding so crappy. Okay, so the bacteria that we used to be before we evolved, if they could think, they would have been like, hey, I don't want to be this human thing. What the hell? I like being this little bacteria going around doing bacteria stuff. But now we're humans, and we've lost our bacteriaism. Oh, no, but we're humans, and we like being humans.
We think.
There's just one problem with that analogy, though, is that the bacteria can't think on that level.
Yeah,
so as humans, we can't really think on the level of the big super machine.
And
that's
aren't we
built.
like 90% bacteria anyway still?
Something like that. He said that a lot of it was bacteria.
Until we visit the restroom, then we're something like 89%.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm more like 91.
Oh, 91. Okay, you increase your bacteria count.
You go in the bathroom.
All right, Joey.
right.
Moving right along. Let's talk about things that are good about it. That's all the bad stuff. What are you most looking forward to? Let's say that his singularity is going to happen just as he says. We're looking by the 2020s, we're going to have computers everywhere helping us out. 2029, artificial intelligence. 2042, we will be able to basically live forever, combine ourselves with computers. What's the best part? What do you guys think?
All the old school, like, 80s games we can play.
Right in our heads.
Yeah, the Matrix virtual reality simulations, those will be amazing.
I think so.
I want... What was the guy's name? George 2042. I so want an assistant that's a computer like hologram, and I just be like, "Hey George, what's going on? Hey, what was I supposed to do today? I completely forgot. Yeah, you're supposed to go to the doctor. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Thanks, George. Hey George, you got that porn downloaded? All right, cool. Ooh, maybe I can have a girl. Hey Georgina, what's up? Well, let me go to the show. Wow. Am I talking out loud?
Georgina.
We're hearing those thoughts.
Oh,
You're
sorry.
you're talking out loud there. The world.
Actually, Joey's a little bit less bacteria after he speaks. Just saying.
What? So what do you think, Daryl? What are you so excited about?
Well, I think everything about it is exciting. I mean, throughout our lifetimes even, we've experienced a lot of technological innovation. The first computer I had was one that was gifted by my parents to my brother and I in 1980. And just thinking of the leaps and bounds from computer generation to next, what's been going on. And then how, moving forward, we've definitely worked a lot more on integrating a network of computers together, which, pre-1990 was really not that much of a thought that was even going on. But now everything's so interconnected that we have these portable devices. We're just moving forward on things. I think one of the aspects of the exponential growth, though, that maybe got lost track of is even though Moore's Law keeps packing more and more smarts into a smaller space, we have some things that are a little bit like holdouts, like battery technology. It seems like battery technology right now, we're getting hit hard with limits of how long our batteries can last us, because the smarter our phones get, the more often we have to recharge them, things like that. So I'm looking forward to, that's one of the big things, battery tech, solar tech.
They've had a couple of breakthroughs recently with nanotube technology for batteries, and that's all in the lab, but it's promising.
Yeah, once nanotubes are inexpensive enough to produce, they're going to
and they can actually produce them in mass quantities.
Yeah.
Do you know if Kurzweil has a website? Because if I was him, I'd have a website putting all this stuff down and saying this has come to pass or this has not come to pass or something like that.
Tracking his predictions.
Kind of tracking what his predictions are or how close we are to the singularity.
He has a website where he's got a shell shape, and on it it's got 7 or 8 of his major things that he does. And it's one of those things on there.
Which is what kind of separates him from
a bacterium?
Yes, because bacteria don't maintain websites, or bacteria.
Or so you think.
No, from a prognosticator, someone who predicts the future just off the cuff. They usually don't track their mistakes, and when they have one hit out of 100, then that's the one they go, "Oh, look, I was right about this one."
Yeah, that's true.
Told you the sun was going to come up.
So, Paul, what about you? What are you looking forward?
Well, I'm looking forward now. Technology is how it could help out healthcare and really target diseases and prolonging people's life even before we all start becoming computers and stuff, but going in there and fixing you to get ready to become a robot.
Nice. And Booger, what about you?
That's a damn good question.
That's right. That's why I asked.
I'm looking forward to seeing just exactly how it can be integrated into our lives. I'm thinking back about how, back when we were in high school together, how I had this ancient old 8086 sitting in my bedroom. I dial onto a BBS and went on to college. All that expanded and grew. Now we have the internet and such. Even though that's such a small growth pattern based on the technology as a whole, I look back and see, oh, that was pretty neat. I wonder how else it's going to get integrated into our lives. Are we going to end up being like what we saw in I Am Robot, where we have it all around us all the damn time, and we're just so anesthetized to it we don't realize it's there? Or are we going to just go some other total pattern? So I'm just excited to see how it ends up integrating into our lives.
You know, I had to explain to my students, I'm a teacher, and I teach 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I had to explain to my students what a modem was. And I was like, well, you weren't on the internet all the time. You couldn't just, like, go to your computer and you were on the internet. You had to connect through your telephone. Your cell phone? No, you had telephones in your house. Never mind.
All 30 some odd years came crashing down in your head, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Can you actually hear me typing?
No. I'm just saying you need to. He hasn't given his
Ask
opinion
Kale.
about what he's.
Kale, Daryl wants to hear what you said before about what you're most excited about because he wasn't listening apparently. So go ahead.
Oh, I just saying that I was really looking forward to
He
virtual
did it
reality.
Really?
Paul didn't know either.
Oh, that's you guys are going. Hey, what about Kale? You
Did we
forgot about
start
Kale.
with him?
What did you
We
say?
started.
I was saying
I'm sorry.
I was like the first one. I said I was really looking forward to
I need a computer in my
the
head.
Matrix
I know,
like virtual reality
Oh, yeah.
simulations.
I want
That's right. I
a new
remember that
group.
now.
What was that
Now.
before?
Okay. Yeah.
These
I
people
thought that
are
was-
dorks.
I thought
I
that was
want
before
a
you asked the
new
rest of
group.
us. I don't know.
All right, let's
Good
move
reference, good
on.
reference.
On my notes here, I got what are the dangers of OWL?
Al
Al?
Banner?
AI.
Oh, AI.
Oh, jeez.
Al from Happy Days?
I was thinking of that. Oh, you can call me Al.
Wow. What are the dangers of AI? Not OWL. Anybody?
Turning on you.
I'll give you a little hint. Dun, 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 dun. Shh.
A robot apocalypse?
Yes. The Terminator, Skynet.
Yeah. Because he was saying how great.
So what if
And RoboCop 2.
what if the
No,
what if we're
RoboCop
a
threw with the
threat-
Boy Scouts.
That's just a common theme from 2001: A Space Odyssey, Skynet, and all that stuff about the self-aware technology that realizes we're going to shut it down because we believe it's a threat, but then we threaten it, and it in turn wants to shut us down.
I actually like Ray Kurzweil's view of it's like they're just like us, and there's like, hey, what's going on? Like they're our friends.
Yeah, but
They're just like humans.
how would you not feel superior though if human beings are the bacteria,
But no, that's why we're joining with.
right?
So we.
So it wasn't like in Blade
So you're
Runner?
saying humans are bacteria?
But
is that
I've heard it illustrated that you can throw technology into a horse, right? And then you get a cybernetic horse that can run real fast. But eventually you throw away the horse and you build a Ferrari, right? Like, why do you need to have flesh and bone and blood vessels in there when you can build an
And I
engine
think that's what he's saying is that's going to be gone. But I think his idea is we see technology as something artificial, and I think he sees technology as the next stage of evolution because that's why he talks about the epics. Saying, we start off with atoms and hydrogen, and at the beginning of the universe was the first epic.
Adams and Eves.
And Eve's not there yet.
not that.
And then
Okay.
it gets together and becomes the sun and the planets and inert material, and then it becomes biological life, and then it moves up to larger organisms, and then it becomes humans. And the next step is
The Grey Ooze.
the Grey Ooze.
The intelligent
but with
Grey
all
Ooze.
the next step we see like something that's mechanical. Ooh,
You found the website.
That's
Yep.
pretty.
Kurzweil
Everybody look.
Technologies.
Oh wait, we're on a podcast.
KurzweilTech.com.
KurzweilTech.com. Look it up. Check the show notes. Boom.
So with all this technology and humans becoming AI or whatever, what's going to happen to feelings and your soul or
See,
love?
I'm
I
actually
mean, what-
I'm brought back to, I don't know if any of you might remember this episode of the Star Trek Next Generation. Whenever they were going to go, they went into the holodeck, and the character of Moriarty ended up becoming self-aware.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And they had to teach it the idea of respect everybody that's outside of it, and they will respect it and keep it quote unquote alive. So I think that's where you went. That was like the mark of when it started to blur into the, I guess what you want to call a singularity. As long as you can teach it, if this is even possible, to teach it respect for others, I think you'll probably have a hell of a lot easier time.
But once again, we're talking about Kurzweil's view is that it's not an it. It's us. It's
Yeah,
it's the next
exactly.
version of us because we create it.
True.
We become
Yeah.
meshed together. We are cyborgs. When
Right.
It's not them and us.
It's like
think that-
bacteria. Bacteria did not really create us, but it became us. You know, it evolved into us. And so the idea is that what's going to happen is going to be evolved from us because we created it from us.
Well, I think Paul has a really good point asking about what would happen with emotions, though, because I kind of picture that, you know, another Star Trek reference, you could either say Data or Spock.
Yeah.
I think eventually, once a certain level of intelligence is reached, we might realize that things like emotions are vestigial and they're going to hold us back. And it's nothing but the logical thing to do to divest ourselves of them.
I've been thinking about that very thing lately because of reading the book, and I've come to a conclusion that our emotions are going to still be very important for us. Is because actually our emotions connect us to our unconscious.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when we want to make a contact of what do I think about this, you listen to your emotions to get that information because you cannot directly talk to your unconscious, which has huge amounts of ability in there.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is that curiosity is the drive for having increased intelligence in the first place. Right. So if we completely got rid of curiosity and that drive, would we become a super intelligent being that just gives up and says we're smart enough now and we're just going to stay this way and not ponder the further meaning of the universe? And, you know, that makes me think of, like, if Douglas Adams wrote about a spacefaring civilization that, you know, they built the super intelligence, they became so smart, then they got stuck in an infinite loop because they were debating themselves about if they should go further or not, and then they just wind up being this, like, gas cloud that floats through the universe. Oh, it's the intelligent gas cloud again. So, but
Speaking of gas,
but like, how do we know that this isn't why we haven't seen extraterrestrial life yet? Is because maybe this is a cycle that happens. A certain amount of progress is made toward hyperintelligence, and then that hyperintelligence figures out that emotion is kind of useless for it and becomes purely logical. And then once it's purely logical, it has nowhere to go after that. It kind of just gets stuck in a permanent state of going,
I don't know if I'd want a place with no emotion, no morals, just pure.
I mean,
pure
I think that your emotion is going to tie directly into your personality. So if technology ends up being another step of us, just to keep our individualism, we're going to somehow keep our emotions in there. Otherwise, we are just the Borg.
Yeah.
I think we probably keep most of it in there. Because just how we're talking about this now, we want to stay as human as possible. So I think that everyone's going to be like that. Well, no, and I think it's.
But then what about when it's a democracy and you have a minority of holdouts saying we want to keep our humanity, and then everyone else saying no, it's more efficient if we get rid of it.
But I don't think it's going to be that. I think because it's built on everything we do is going to be built on our humanity. We'll still have the humanity, and we'll always want to keep that humanity.
Well, what scares me is will there be the one group or the one person or the one whatever that will be able to program everybody once you become that technology man?
Well, there are people probably going to try, but just like we have
a virus.
Yeah, just like viruses today and antivirus software, we're going to have that in our heads, just like we have it on our regular computers
What would
now.
keep a dictator from, say, reprogramming all of their countrymen into being...
Yeah.
Well,
like OCP and
I would
RoboCop.
say yes, and I would hope so.
You down with OCP?
I'm down with OCP.
Yeah, you know this.
Because RoboCop was, he had they made him a cyborg because they wanted the morals of the cop, of a good cop. But then with a flip of a switch, OCP can just reprogram him, and it turns into just like RoboCop 2.
It should have been the OCPD.
The OCPD.
Yeah.
I want to go over to what you mentioned about aliens because I was reading that part of listening to that part of the book this morning. I'm like, oh, you don't think aliens exist, huh? Somewhere out there. Convince me, Mr. Ray Kurzweil. And he kind of did a little bit. Anybody want to... well, you didn't read that, and you didn't read that, so...
I'd say we are the aliens, right?
Well, okay. What Kurzweil...
Didn't we come from another planet?
Uh-oh, someone's been to the Church of Scientology again.
Isn't Xenu coming? No, I'm just kidding.
What Kurzweil says is because of this exponential growth... Because of this Mormon Jesus.
Jesus.
Anal Jesus.
No, don't bring up anal Jesus.
We just lost half our...
I think think we just had to edit. I think that's what happened.
No, and there's nothing wrong with
all right.
anal Jesus. Anal Jesus. Whatever.
So, Booger, what's your take on that? There's nothing wrong with that, right?
We're talking about aliens. Aliens!
Joey, you're going to get bleeped. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we need to build a wall between the border. And, sorry. No.
Okay, no, not that aliens. What Kurzweil said... What Kurzweil said is the reason that there are no... He didn't call them aliens.
If we had that wall, would Robert be here now?
Eddie.
I'm sorry.
He's not laughing.
I'm sorry, Booger.
All I heard was Wall and Robert. I couldn't make out what you said.
He said, if we had that wall, would Robert be here now?
Yeah.
Of course I'd be. Who else is going to mow your lawn?
Yeah.
I still remember when we all went to
By the way,
Tijuana,
guys,
I was thinking we should take
all of you out there,
driver's license
Booger,
away from him.
Robert is our token Mexican friend.
Orale.
So anyway, not aliens like Booger, but
that's Token. All right, he's not high right now. Just so you know.
Oh,
Right.
Oh well, we're starting to lose a little early today. Where are we at? We're at
55.
Oh, okay. We're getting
That's about right.
That's about right. That's about usual. All
I
right.
can't go 55. It just breaks down.
So aliens, or as he calls them, eddies, extraterrestrial intelligence. Dude. Kale
snuck off
guy
to
who
the
actually-
snuck off to the restroom and didn't take the headphones.
Oh no.
Oh no, he's not in the restroom. He's right there.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to the bathroom, so no cones of shame.
By the way, the cones of shame is if you have to leave the bathroom, you have to put the headphones on that are wireless. So you go in the bathroom, you have to hear everything we say about you that's bad.
Yeah.
But
It's
you
kind of
take
like
the
being
lead.
Booger, only in the restroom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyway, aliens, ETIs, extraterrestrial intelligence. He says that we're probably alone because he believes that his exponential growth in technology would happen anywhere, anytime, and so that means that if there were other civilizations out there that have already been to the point where we are because they started before us, we'd know about them because they would be super awesome, totally cool, taking over the universe.
Yeah, he
Aliens.
didn't convince me.
But they might be far enough away that we just haven't seen the light from them.
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying.
We
It had
haven't
to be in
seen
our light
We
sphere.
haven't seen Galactus come in yet and take over the solar system.
Dude, you're scaring me. Stop it.
But we're seeing awfully far out. In fact, we're seeing bodies out there that formed not long after the Big Bang, theoretically, because we're looking outward is looking back in time. So you see light that's 10 billion years, 10 billion light years away. Then you're looking 10 billion light years into the past.
I have to say he had a good argument, and he made me think. I was just gonna whatever he was gonna say. I was gonna say no way because to me it just seems obvious. There's other.
He does have a valid argument.
He has a valid argument,
But then again, there could be a fatal flaw in intelligence where we wind up annihilating ourselves. That's a big
Right,
Carl
yeah.
Sagan conceit that if we
implode.
don't destroy ourselves in the progress of making technology, we will eventually
and
reach the stars.
He brings that up, and he says that, but because everyone says there's probably millions of civilizations out there, not all of them would have destroyed themselves, or not all of them would be hiding from us.
I think there's a difference between life and intelligent life as far as... I think there's a huge amount of life in our universe.
But let me serve one of your arguments back to you. What if it's Plato's form? What if evolution happens a certain way every single time?
Right.
So if there's a certain
That is my
conformity...
argument.
if there's a certain conformity, then
Bitchslapped.
if there's a fatal flaw in the design, it winds up exterminating itself. And let's talk about
I'm
Marshall
sorry.
Savage with the
I have
FMF
to agree with
program.
myself.
Marshall T. Savage in the FMF. What did he talk about? Bacteria. In chapter 1 of the book, he's like, bacteria, they live in a certain space, they grow exponentially, their population gets too big, then they all die.
Okay, why do
He's
you
like-
know more about the
he's like,
FMF than
people-
we do? Because I don't even remember that.
Because I think I only read the first chapter. So, but the thing is that
on the
he's
first
saying that
page.
he's saying that Earth is like our little bacteria petri dish.
Right.
We're going to grow to a certain size. Once we reach critical mass, we use up all the available resources, and we all die out. So unless we leave this
That's right, he
planet,
thought that
we're
too.
going to have a big problem on our hands, or we find the technology to mitigate.
Well,
our,
I think the
lack of
space elevator
resources.
is coming a lot faster than anybody realizes, and that's going to get us off this planet so easily. And so I think,
you hope.
I think it's going to happen. I joined the Kickstarter for the moon elevator, which they raised quite a bit of money, and they're actually moving toward, making the climbers and then using the moon as a base to bring things up and down to the moon as we go back to the moon, and it will really bring down the cost of doing that there. And as we do that, then we will gain more technological ability to make an elevator here on Earth.
I think things like space travel and exploration is another one of those laggards that doesn't progress at the same rate as our intelligence technology. Just like I said, batteries are catching up. You know, we visited the moon in 1969, and what have we really done since? We've been kind of sitting on our laurels in a certain way. And there is a big drive to do that. So if the drive returns and whether or not it's privatized, I think that the space race could heat up again. But it's one of those things where I think, you know, Kurzweil would probably say, yeah, we're going to have all this space exploration going on in the next 100 years, and we're going to make huge inroads to doing whatever. But are we going to really have a moon colony in the next 50 years, 100 years? When are we going to justify the expense?
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think the key you said there is the privatization. That's what's going to spur all of this to happen. And it needs, build the enterprise. And, and we're so close to inventing warp speed anyway. Might as well do it.
In a way, it's like we're moving really, really fast in terms of technology, and we're also standing still. You know, and some of the things that are maybe more important for our future, like space travel, we've been kind of at a standstill for decades.
Yeah. Well, and technology only goes as far as what somebody's willing to pay for and invest in.
Yeah.
Is that a mousetrap?
He's clapping. He likes your.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Clapper. All right. Last thing.
And then his lights turned out.
It's dark in here. All right. Last thing. Let's talk about. Kale read this. If you guys get a chance, listen to Chapter 7. It's not a very long chapter, and it's very good because he talks about consciousness. And this is one thing that always bugs me about this whole idea. We talked a little bit about it last week with the teleportation idea, about if you're going to be teleported and you get destroyed. And he has this one part in there that he talks about so well, which is he says, what if I make a copy? We have the ability to make a copy of ourselves, and I make a copy of myself, and there's my copy. But it's not me because I'm right here. And they say, well, let's get rid of the old version. No, don't get rid of me. Well, we're going to keep the copy. No. So obviously that doesn't work because the old me is gone. So he says if you do it gradually over time, bit by bit, the new you still becomes the same as that copy, but the old you is still gone. So it's still the same idea, but it feels like the same because he says that we're not so much the cells that make us up, but the patterns developed from the cells. Like, in a river, the idea he said was like a river. You see a pattern of waves in the river, or it's not the water that says pattern, even though it's moving in and out of the pattern. The pattern itself is something separate.
Yeah.
But the water molecules there are always different, but you'll still see the same ripples.
The same pattern. Now, that's what I was trying to say. Exactly.
And our bodies are replacing stuff all the time.
Exactly. He goes right into that. You're not the same person you were.
And within 7 years, even the bones are different.
Right.
Well, and he said you could easily say, so am I not the same person I was a few minutes ago? Or a few seconds ago.
Right.
And in that case, you never are. And so, and it comes down to who am I?
And another thing.
And I'm going to throw it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're talking about continuity of consciousness.
Yes, exactly.
Again. And another problem with making a duplicate of something is that it takes a certain amount of time. And if you're saying we're so ephemeral that we just we're constantly changing all the time, how are you going to download all that data from our brain instantaneously and make a new copy of it? You're going to have to do it.
And he brings that. You know what? He brings that exactly up. Same thing.
Right.
And you can't. You got to take time. I mean, for me personally, I feel like if the transfer over to technology was as slow as our regular lives are, then as far as I'm concerned, maybe we have the illusion that we exist right now, and we really don't because we're a new person every few seconds or every day or every month or however long we get exchanged. But if I get exchanged into a permanent technology, non-biological unit over the period of time where I don't notice the change, then I'm fine with that. I would consider myself the same person, just in a different format.
Now, I'm going to go interject two different concepts about what you were just talking about. There's the one where let's just presume you can make an exact duplicate copy of yourself. That's where I would figure there's a little bit of chaos in every little aspect of life. So even though, let's say, the original is changing little by little, your cells are dying and regenerating, I have no doubt that those very same cells in your copy will probably regenerate in a different pattern. And over time, that person will not be an exact duplicate aged as the original would have aged. So you have to consider that. That means it's not an exact copy. Maybe it was at that very same snapshot moment, but it does not persist to be a copy. The other aspect I want to throw in there is this would be an excellent chance to test whether or not this is going into spirituality, whether there's a soul inside of you. Because if it's a copy, it's not going to copy, quote unquote, the soul. So that would make you. That's why if you delete the original, for example, the copy is not going to have a soul, and you just literally murdered a person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a quote there that he used. By the way, I hate quotes in audiobooks. I don't know if you had this problem, Kale, but he'd start a new chapter, and he'd start talking, and I'd be like, this is the new chapter, and it's a quote from some other guy. I'm like, dude, and he does like 3 or 4 quotes. Right. It was so annoying.
Well, he even does it in like subsections of the chapters.
Yeah, I mean, when you're, it should either be in a different voice, or it should be, quote, blah, 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 blah,
They should have had Mickey Mouse do it. Since the guy narrating the book was the...
Yeah, did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
It's the Disneyland guy who's narrating the book.
He sounds a lot like John Wayne reading. Well, Pilgrim, the Singularity.
But the quote was... Oh, crap, I don't remember it anymore. No, what were we saying about the soul? The quote was, the soul does exist, it's just made up of billions of biological little robots.
Ah.
Oh.
Well, I was going to mention another thing that it would put to rest. If you were able to make this perfect copy of someone, you could also settle the nature versus nurture argument, because put them in different environments. And just like Booger was talking about, you would get to see, like, not only are the metabolic processes going to develop into 2 individuals, but you would see, put someone in the care of someone loving and someone else in the care of someone not loving. This is too cruel to make a real experiment out of. But this. Now,
you do understand by doing that, Daryl, you're then actually having to set a value on the copy versus the original, saying that, okay, here you are a copy.
Right.
This copy will go into a different environment. It's an experiment, therefore it does not have the same value as a person would.
I'm not arguing this as an ethical thing to do. But what I am saying is that if this kind of thing became commonplace, where people had exact duplicates of themselves made, you could do some studies and find out, this person went a certain place, this other person went another place. One turned into Darth Vader, the other one turned into Luke Skywalker, But they were the same person.
Yeah,
there is some incest going on there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it the last Star Trek, the Picard movie, the Nemesis? Data killed himself to save everyone, but didn't they download his
into a new body
mind?
That came out of nowhere. It was
It was his
before, but then
the brother's body. Right?
No, but it wasn't his brother's. It was like some extra body that they had. It was very strange because it wasn't lore.
But they had they could download him.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. They downloaded him, but they could only download. They couldn't download
his butt.
Yes, they downloaded his butt.
God, they have a lot of bandwidth.
And then they uploaded it to his butt, and he liked it.
I don't understand. We're not going to give you emotions, but here's a penis. I don't get it. Poor Data.
He always gets it.
Cersei Pavlos, por favor.
So, oh my gosh.
I think it's time to move on.
Completely. I was going to say, think about the popularity of Carbonite and Crash Plan when you could back yourself up on them.
I know.
That would be great.
Dude, I spent 5 months uploading myself, but now, as soon as I die, just download me again.
Anywhere, anytime.
Well, no, and something back to what Booger was saying, too, about the idea that I lost it. Damn it.
Too, also, with the argument of who we are and stuff, and, like, for me, who I am is I see in Logan. I see in children.
Yeah.
Where I try to instill my morals, my enjoyments, my whatever.
A very circle of life of you.
Exactly. It's my Simba. I hang it up there, and then I'm going to go in a canyon and get trampled by a bunch of emus or whatever they were. But it's we live on. We live on through our kids.
Right.
And I think that's kind of how we are now, and that's the idea is we, as the bacteria we are, we just reproduce, and that's how we live on. But in the future, it'll be actually us. We won't have to have kids anymore.
I'm getting kind of fed up with Joey's
that's why you
superiority
gotta
complex.
douche first.
You call me a douche?
Everyone's bacteria, according to Joey.
Okay, let's since we're talking about bacteria and douche, let's move on and end up.
You know Coasterville?
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I just got into it.
Okay.
Coasterville's awesome. Oh, anyway, so let's
I
talk
like
about
Margaritaville better. Myself, but.
Welcome to the Hotel California. Wait, that's something.
That's not Jimmy Buffett.
It's not even Jimmy Buffett. What about next week, guys? Any ideas? Because I got one if no one else
Faster
has.
than light travel.
Okay, and I was thinking space travel or just space exploration in general might be good. But I was thinking...
Like how the Singularity rolls into space travel.
Well, we were talking about it.
Rolls into FTL. Huh?
I think faster light travel would fit well with space travel, but...
Yeah.
I
mean, we could make that the next 2 episodes.
Okay,
Space
possible.
travel, then FTL.
However, we've been doing a lot of serious episodes, and we talked before about maybe doing something a little bit more fun. So, also...
Tastes great versus less filling.
Yes, exactly. All right.
Whiter wheat?
Wait,
What the hell?
cookie versus cream?
What? Cream. It's a new Sesame Street duo, Cookie and Cream. Oh, Cookie! I'm Cream.
Abdul-Jabbar?
No, but I was thinking, we don't have to do this next week, but why don't we do Star Wars?
Okay.
Start in?
Jar Jar.
I'm sorry, I had to cough in that. Yeah, without Jar Jar though.
I think it would be cool to do Star Wars
There's
because
nothing wrong with Jar Jar.
we've done so many
Yes, there
serious...
is. You got to
No,
get
there
that.
isn't.
I'm playing Coaster Bill.
All right, I'm ready for this.
All right, let's not get into religion here, guys.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll figure out what we're doing next week, and then you can come join us.
All right.
It'll either be space travel, Star
because
Wars...
of Paul, I rage quit. I'm out of here.
Okay, we will either be doing Star Wars, space travel faster than light, or douching.
Sounds good.
Oh my god.
All right, so this is Joey Shamble. You can find me at www.iamrambling.com.
This is Paul Hottinger, and you can find me at heyitspaul.com.
And this is Cale Anderson. You can find me at Rom's Rants on blogspot.com.
And this is Daryl Jors. You can find me at jors.com.
What about you, Booger?
G-I-O-R-S.
Oh, sorry.
All right, this is Robert Booger Magallanes. You can find me doing push-ups in the mud at Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
There you go.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us, and join us next week for some douching fun.
Yeah!
You said douche a lot. Jeez.
Wow, we're going
People
downhill.
listen to this crap.
We're going downhill.
Thanks for listening. You can now stop screaming at the open air. Listeners should put their minds back in their upright positions and resume traditional thinking. Find us on iamrambling.com for access to all of our weekly ramblings, show notes, general discussions, and any projects from Incoherent Ramblings. Like us on Facebook and rate us on iTunes. So long, and thanks for all the fish.
I have to admit, gentlemen, this is a hell of a lot better than back when we were in high school and we had to try to censor ourselves because we were afraid we'd get in trouble.
Wait, we had to censor ourselves?
Do you not remember how many times we'd have to watch out what we said or typed and
of
stuff
course.
like that? Just in case our parents
We
saw it? Oh my
censored
God.
ourselves a little bit. Like, I didn't tell you to off this time. You know?
No.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Fart.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
In Singularity. I can't bring myself to end this. This is too good.
End it! Stop it now!
Okay,
Stop it!
stop.